Party's not a party's a man who fights crime, and we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time with John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Hello, everyone. This is our Bat Minute hiatus review of Dwayne The Rock Johnson's big superhero movie that for some reason is called Black Adam, even though he's not really playing Black Adam. And it's for that's for the purists, I guess. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
The world needed a hero. It got me, John Parker, your other host. Witness my power born from rage.
Yeah, and we're here today to talk about this film with someone who's fairly familiar with both The Rock and the cameo that comes up in the end credits of Henry Cavill, although I don't think you got to his movies just yet. But we have all the way from Minute Impossible and The Cast and the Furious, and is Jonathan Howell.
Hey, tell him the Man in Black sent you.
There it is. There it is. And I hope you guys are all excited, because let me tell you, I am so pumped that the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. Things are gonna shift around here. The Rock's coming in, and all you assholes are going down, and... So I've just been handed a piece of paper here, and oh no. Oh, okay. So forget all about that. Apparently, the hierarchy of power has changed, but in a completely different direction.
Well, he wasn't wrong. He didn't say in what way.
Yeah. he didn't say, hey, at some point they're going to hire two guys that are going to, and also HBO Max is going to lose its mind and and completely destroy DC in any way.
It's so weird, though, knowing it's all like, well, the guy who's like setting off that nuclear bomb is James Gunn. And then his wife is in this movie for a bit. You're like, there she is, man.
Yeah, true. I didn't even think
Lady
about
from Peacemaker. She's right there. Hardcore. Yeah. Talking about Black Adam, it's kind of like, it's not so much of a movie now as it is kind of like a cultural event that occurred. That didn't even make all that much money, but it was just like...
More of a cultural obligation. Like, he worked on it for so long that everybody's like, well, they have to make it now, I guess.
Yeah. And as a viewer, you know, I felt like, as a big fan of The Rock and wrestling, not rock and wrestling, that's a thing from the 80s, I was like, well, I've got to watch it, really, just because I want to be nice to him.
Yeah, I saw...
Did you pay for it legally, though, John? That's the question.
No, we can't talk about that on air.
I saw it, well, as the only person who saw it legally in the theater. I went and saw it in the movie theater because I was like, okay, this will be a fun... whatever. Took my 14-year-old. He was like, I'm not really interested in this. I'm like, all right, let's go see it. And and we left, and he went, I didn't really like it. I go, yep. All right, good. Me either. So that's
I'm probably going to be the outlier, right? I quite liked this movie. Like, obviously, it's not a good movie, but I found it enjoyable. There's stuff in it I'm going to bring up as we go through that I sort of thought were quite interesting and different, even though it is a bit of a Frankenstein movie, which I'm sure Niall's going to mention.
Yeah. To be fair, I actually found it very watchable. I thought it was a very, like, this is okay.
Oh, so am I just the dissenting American?
You might be. You might be the guy. Because, as John alluded to there, my kind of problem with it is more like, every single thing in it that's good is taken from another movie. So it is very much just sure. Like...
If you want to pick it down to that level, yes. I will say there are some great parts that I saw in another movie.
Yeah. Like, even minor lines, you're just like, that's from another thing. That's from another thing. That's from a thing. That became a meme template that people were passing around for ages. You can't rip that off. Everybody knows.
I want your two backgrounds on this, because I know, I mean, obviously you're huge Batman fans, but what is your Black Adam, Shazam, Captain Marvel background with comic books? Because this is a whole different, this is kind of a shunted over side thing. I mean, Shazam's great movie. I love Shazam. Yeah. Totally fun, totally low stakes, but very, very, very likable. I rewatched Shazam over Christmas, and it's great.
It is.
It's
really
such a genuinely good movie. Although it was weirded out though, because I know the sequel's out in March, and it was on TV, and they were putting up like adverts for the sequel. And it's like, it's not out for like
God,
3
that movie
months,
was supposed
like
to be out like what, last year? Or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
So,
But the way things are going with Warner Brothers, I was wondering if they were like, get the ads out now because they might just decide they're not going to release it. So it's like, no, the ads are out. You can't pull back now at
It's
this
a
point.
trick.
So it's like, get them out and advertise it for 6 months, but just to make sure that the damn thing gets
another
released.
Fast and Furious alum, Dame Helen Mirren, in
Of course,
in,
yeah.
in the new Shazam movie.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, before Shazam came out, the movie, my knowledge of Captain Marvel and Black Adam was basically an episode of Batman: The Brave and the Bold,
Yeah.
where they kind of did, and it's shocking actually looking at the Shazam movie. Like, that's basically the plot of that episode as well. It just has more Batman in it and Black Adam, which is just like, oh, we got all this stuff compressed into 22 minutes, and you guys took 2 hours to tell like a quarter of the story. No, that's weird. But
See, my background's even less, I think. Like, I'd heard of Black Adam. I'd heard of Shazam before the movie, but I'd never read anything with Shazam in. So going into this, I knew nothing, which might actually have helped in
I think
some
it
ways.
did. I went
Actually,
in.
no,
I think
there's
I
one
went in
thing
with
I knew.
baggage. I went in with baggage for sure.
The one
Yeah.
thing I knew was people said to me, "Oh, he's like kind of a villain." So I was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." Yeah, that's it.
it's
That's
weird.
literally
It's weird too
it.
that they try to keep that edge within the film. But it's weird because in the end credit sequence, it's very much like, we got to keep this Black Adam guy under control. But like by the climax of the movie, he seems like he's just a good guy. There's no villainous edge to him. Whereas I know in the comics, it's like, oh yeah, he was like in every iteration, he's always like the corrupted. Like, he was given the powers by the wizards, and then he just got totally corrupted and had to be put away somewhere because he's a bad guy and stuff. But I mean, Jonathan, I'm assuming you, like, well, you said you have baggage. Like, what is your baggage? Were you like a hardcore Captain Marvel guy back in the day?
I mean, it's hard to say hardcore, but yeah, he's been. I mean, I watched. There used to be a show. I mean, this was in the 80s. There was a show called The Kid Superpower Hour with Shazam, where they would show Shazam cartoons. I love Greek mythology and Roman mythology, so as a kid, I kind of gravitated toward a superhero who was, the powers of all the, gods.
Yeah.
And so, and then there was this crappy show in the late 70s of Shazam where this kid and this old man were in a Winnebago and they drove around. I mean, it was low rent. Go find it if you haven't watched it. It's all out there. There's only like 6 episodes. It's terrible. The guy who played Shazam, though, he yelled Shazam. I don't remember if his name was Shazam in the show, because that's always been a confusing part of it, too. Is he Shazam? Shazam is the wizard.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel, there was a whole problem with that with DC and Marvel.
Well, that's
think it was
understandable. What a crazy thing to do when your main competitor's name is Marvel.
I think it's even weirder too. There must be a kind of like a proper, like, you can't even joke about that thing, where, because in the Shazam movie they keep trying to come up with names for him, and they come like, what's it, Captain Sparkle Fingers or something is one of them, and it's like, just say Captain Marvel at some point, and then go, no, we can't do that because there's already someone called that, or something cute like that. But they're like, no, you can't.
Marvel
even,
movies reference DC movies. Why can't DC movies reference Marvel movies?
Yeah. I think you could have skirted around it by like, what about Captain Marvelous?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that too. But I remember even in Teen Titans Go to the Movies, when they introduce Deathstroke, and like Cyborg's like, "Oh, you're Deadpool," and he's like, "Wait, I'm completely different from Deadpool." And he's like, "No, you're Deadpool, man. You look just like him." And then they never mention the fact that he's called Slade Wilson and Deadpool's called Wade Wilson. So it's like, you could push this joke more, but they're like, we barely get away with just saying the word Deadpool in this.
Yeah, so I read there were a bunch of different iterations of Black Adam through the late 80s and 90s, and then in the 2000s the JSA came back. They rebooted JSA, the Justice Society of America, and they had Black Adam being part of it. He was an anti-hero. He was he was from this country, Kondak, and so they kind of his people were killed. There was a whole myth. The mythos. Here's the thing I have with the movie. I've seen it twice. The mythos is they messed up basically who he is and also who Dr. Fate is. In the comic books, at least in the JSA stuff they did in the early 2000s, both assume they are like a prequel to the Justice League of America. In the Egyptian times, Hawkman's there as one of his many lives. Teth Adam is there as kind of a superhero, and not Dr. Fate, but the guy who's Naboo, the helmet that he wears, like the guy who made the helmet is there.
Oh, okay.
And so they're like superheroes. And Shazam's there too, the wizard Shazam. And so they're kind of like just kind of helping out the pre-civilization. You know, they're just screwing around.
Yeah,
That sounds great to me.
Yeah, doesn't it?
That sounds like but that's your movie.
Well, that's
right
the problem I have. I'm watching this movie, and you've got Hawkman, Dr. Fate, and Black Adam in it, and they don't know each other, and they don't know. Well, we'll get to Fate. Fate drives me nuts. The way that they created this, I mean, I'm coming off like a comic book nerd, but I'm like, come on, man. I mean, he has superpowers. Yes, he's a magician, but a sorcerer. But the way they totally misunderstood his powers. His power isn't to see the future and be burdened by it at all times. That is not his power. It's not. I'm sure he has a spell that will allow him to see certain things. That's not what he does.
Well, I'm thinking what the problem is there, though, is that, like, well, we need these characters to be somewhat identifiable straight off the bat. So who's Dr. Fate like? Oh, he's a bit like Doctor Strange, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just make him instantly like, well, people know about Doctor Strange. Wait, there's that bit where you saw all the different futures and stuff. It's like, throw that in. There you go, straight away.
Just do that. Well, that's actually one problem I do have with the movie is the team, the way they're put together. Like, it's the same problem with all DC movies, really. It feels too rushed. It seems like, as a viewer, let's ignore any comic book background. As a viewer, we should know who these characters are already.
Yep.
I did kind of appreciate, though, there was a bit where Cyclone and Atom Smasher get introduced to each other, and their thing is just like, so what's your thing? Oh, I grow. What's your thing? Oh, I wind. And it's just like, that's all we need. You don't need any more background. The unfortunate thing is that you don't get any more background on them at all, and they're just kind of a waste of space as characters.
Except that Fonzie is the original Adam.
Oh, that wasn't, and it's so very clearly like, Henry, just pop on, Skype for a second on your phone, and we'll pay you like $5 million for whatever.
Yeah,
this is
it was one of those ones where I was, because Atom Smasher is from Infinity Corp, which was the children of the Justice Society. Again, they're just, this is the JSA. I mean, that's what they're calling this. Great. So they name check it. Yay! But everybody that's in it, there's like 3 people. Really? And you had to bring in 2 other people?
Yeah. I was a bit weirded out in terms of... Not weirded out, that sounds a bit more extreme. I was curious, though, because I didn't quite understand whether... Because this is still very much in the Snyderverse.
Mm-hmm. Oh, especially visually. Holy crap.
Oh, from the friggin' word go, it's like, this looks like 300. Like, it's just like, we just... Remember Zack Snyder? He's still here.
Did you guys write down how many slow-mo 360 shots there were in this movie?
There were too many to count.
Yeah. But that was because of the fact that in Justice League, it's a big deal when the Justice League comes together. And then this seems to be like, oh, the JSA has been a thing around for years. So you're like, oh, like, should they have not been mentioned previously? Did they go to Dr. Fate about stuff in the past and go like, you, Hawkman, get your team back together?
Well, were you happy at least
or
they at least had, they did have Bruce Wayne in this movie because Hawkman is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
They were just like, I don't know, everyone knows who Batman is, and they know who Bruce Wayne is, so let's just make Carter Hall Batman.
Yeah.
Except he lives on Tracy Island from Thunderbirds, seemingly.
Yeah, and he's got a ship made out of metal.
Yeah.
There were lots of things dropped. Lots of things are dropped in this movie, and there's no explanation.
I thought, John, because I know you read the Dark Knight heavy metal thing, so I was wondering if you got excited when you heard the mention of nth metal, because that's a big factor in that story.
I did. This is the thing. I've got almost all issues relating to that story. I'm not going to say all of them because I think they've done a million more now. But is it a good story? Not really. But I like reading it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a big story. I was like, it's the one that the Joker and Batman have to team up. That's how serious this is.
I know, but it's not good. But I don't know. I have to keep reading it.
And also, if you don't know who Plastic Egg is, you're screwed, because they're not going to explain why Plastic Man is now in the shape of an egg for some reason at all times.
No explanation.
But that's the thing, though, because what you're saying about them messing up lore and stuff, Jonathan, is like, the way this movie even came together, as you alluded to earlier, it's a long-ass process. Apparently back in 2006, they were considering doing a Shazam movie. And they were like, oh, who should play Shazam? or Captain Marvel. Oh, Captain Sparklefingers, Dwayne the Rock Johnson. He'd be great at that.
No,
and
see,
then
that wouldn't have worked for me because back then, right? I've always loved him, but back then he was a terrible actor.
Well, even in Southland Tales, come on, man.
Well, okay, he gets away with it in that.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, well, he's got the physique. That's a natural thing to do. And then that was just rumor mill going around. And then the fans on the internet were going like, well, wouldn't he? He was he has more of an edge to him. Would he not be better suited to playing Black Adam? And then The Rock kind of like did his rock eyebrow, like Black Adam. You say?
If I shave my head, I could be Black Adam.
No, that's why he did it. He's not actually lost his hair.
Doesn't Black Adam have hair? Shut up.
Oh, damn it.
No, do they have pointy ears? No, shut up.
For no reason. There's no reason for him to have pointy ears. That's always been a fun one. Like, there's no reason why. He's not from another planet. He's not a Atlantean.
A Vulcan. Yeah.
An elf.
We should have had like a scene of him and Shazam fighting, and he because Shazam's literally a kid, he pulls his ears as kind of a thing, and it's like, oh no, my ears won't go back to their normal shape. But yeah, so over this goes on and on and on for The Rock going, oh, I'll go play either Shazam or Black Adam. What do you guys think? On the internet for like 8 years until 2014, where he's going like, okay, I'll play Black Adam then. And they're still like, this movie might be happening someday, maybe. And then in 2017, he meets with the now, they pulled a statue down and everything in the Warner Brothers lot of sort of the not that celebrated writer, but he was the head of DC Entertainment for a while, Jeff Johns. And they're like, well, Black Adam's going to be in the Shazam movie. And then they're like, well, we don't really want The Rock being a bad guy to another guy's hero because it's all, politics and finance and all. Like, well, we want it to be a Rock movie more than, him being the heel and stuff. So eventually Jeff Johns comes up with the idea of, well, just split the movie in two and just make it just one Shazam movie and one Black Adam movie. And then, don't you know it, I, Jeff Johns, have written a Black Adam arc. Oh. And therefore, you can base that movie, even though like he's long gone by the time the movie gets made, but it's still all of his ideas from his comic line are part, they're in this movie somewhere in some shape or form. And that's a lot of people's beef with Jeff Johns. Like, some people really, really hate that guy. And I can understand stuff like why sometimes too, like, it's Batman Earth 1, the version of Catwoman's ridiculous and stuff like. But I think it's just people are like, if you look at a lot of the Snyderverse stuff, a lot of the comic influence is all very recent Jeff Johns comics. And it was because he was the head of DC at the time, like DC Entertainment. So he's able to go, do that, man. I wrote that. So if you make that into the movie, I'll get people buying the graphic novels. I get more money. So just do it that way, right?
I met him once at a comic book convention and got his autograph. It's before he was the head of DC. He had just brought back Hal Jordan.
Oh, wow.
Early 2000s. He was just kind of the up and coming guy on the rise. He was nice then, but I would have to say, it's problematic at best. His leadership.
You go and burn that autograph right now, Jonathan. Do it on air.
I'd have to go find it. I don't know where it is, but it's on it's on a comic book. It's on like a Green Lantern comic book somewhere.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
But yeah, DC has never had the right leadership or vision. I guess vision's better. I mean, I don't know about the leadership of every DC thing, but I'm like, since the 80s, they haven't been able to make a quality superhero movie. I mean, people will say Man of Steel. I love Man of Steel. I still think it missed the mark of who Superman is.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable watch, but it's not Superman to me.
I'm that grumpy old man who's like, they missed the mark of who he is, of every superhero we are at now. I mean, Dr. Fate was just watching it, it's like, you've just never read a Dr. Fate comic book, ever. You just, it was a screenwriter like, hey man, Fate's about the future. No,
got a helmet, right?
No,
the helmet
he's never gonna wear, and then we're gonna mess it up and only have half of it be weird, and the other half have an eye, and I don't know what's going on with that helmet. Also,
I have to say though,
he only has 3 powers. He can multiply. He can build out little triangles. What else can he do?
Also, again though, him multiplying in the big final fight is just like, I know another guy who did that in a very recent movie that everybody likes.
So bad. There's so many things he could do. And you know what I had a problem with? There weren't enough do you pronounce it Onk? Those
Onk. I would say,
there weren't enough Onks. Dr. Fate is famous for throwing spells that are Onk shaped. I wanted more Onk shaped portals, Onk shaped like things like daggers coming out of his hands. I wanted. That's what I wanted, and I did not get that, and it made me sad.
You know what it'll be, right? Rightly or wrongly, it'll probably be they're worried about having
Egyptian culture.
Yeah, like appropriating stuff, considering who they've cast. They'd be like, "Oh, we can't do that." Which there's an argument for that, but at the same time, well, pick a different character or cast someone else.
you cast a Hawaiian as a Middle Eastern person, so maybe chill on it and don't worry about it.
The Rock's one of those rare people who seems to be able to just play anyone from any background and nobody complains.
I think it's one of those things too. It's just like, as soon as the Rock's attached, it's like, well, you can't get him unattached to this. You can't be like, well, Rock, we want to be more. We're thinking of maybe going for maybe, I don't know, Rami Malek, because he's Egyptian, right? No,
Rami Malek as Black Adam would be interesting for sure.
Hell yeah!
You'd have to have that Shazam suit on for one thing, though, the big freaking muscle bound thing. Because, like, to be fair to the Rock, that's his one thing. It's like when he's walking around, he does look like an unnatural.
Walking around, you mean floating?
Oh, of course, floating around.
The floating, right? That's one of my favorite things is the way he's floating around in this movie. Because
I do like that. I don't know how you're going to actually break this movie down, but the things I liked.
Yeah, we're just going to do it like this. We're not going to go through step by step.
Okay. His costume, amazing.
Yeah.
The town of Kandar, awesome looking. Impractical. Again, another shout out to Batman, and I think to the original Batman movie. Big Tim Burton movie. There are just weird statues everywhere, like giant. There's the one mega statue who we find out his son later, but
yeah,
has a very Gotham feel to it. Like you're going.
We could have done if we only had like a car chase down the arm. We could have had you back. Could you cover that with Robin Burns last season?
I did.
So it's like, there you go.
You know what? I will say thank you for not having. There was a little bit of a car chase at the beginning, or maybe middle, but there's very little car chase. There is those stupid motorcycles using the unobtainium or whatever the hell it's called, Eternium.
Yeah. Eternium or Vibranium.
How come they explain what Eternium is, but they don't explain what nth metal is? Eternium is nothing. Nth metal is a thing. Explain the nth metal.
As the Masters of the Universe fan of me too. Every time I heard it, I was like, Eternia? Like, no, Eternium. Like,
you wanted the ultimate crossover.
Yeah. Oh, He-Man versus Black Adam. Well, I guess we're not going to get Superman versus Black Adam anytime soon. So
you're not getting anything.
But the floating thing. Going back to that, I absolutely loved the visual of him floating. I loved the way he moved slowly. In fact, that's a big thing. Like he would go floating and then get into fights. And something I did really like was the pacing of most of the fights. It wasn't too fast, like because he's floating around really slow, and I felt like that actually worked better. It's not too hectic.
Yeah, it doesn't have that. It doesn't have that Transformers fight scene freneticness where you're like, I have no idea what's going on. There's just like too much like crap on the screen.
Yeah, and I was really surprised by that because these movies are all about that normally. I don't know for sure. I think that might be The Rock's wrestling coming into play, being like, no, you got to let it breathe. Because in wrestling, you got to know when to back off and like let things slow down, and it's all about playing with the crowd and things.
Get the vibe too. The Rock was probably very hands-on in terms of like, because even the director is like a workman-like director. Is Jaume Collet Serra. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Sorry, but he actually did The Shallows, which is the Blake Lively shark movie, which is actually a great movie. He did House of Wax way back in the day. You remember Paris Hilton getting killed?
That's all I remember of it.
And then Kim Bauer was one of her movies before she dropped off the face of the earth. Orphan, or Orpan, as me and John would call it over in Miami. Minutes.
Of course.
And of course, one of the last things he did was Jungle Cruise, which of course means that he's in The Rock's pocket now, baby. So, but I can imagine he sounds very much more like, you made a thing. You can be a big. We will just assign you big movies to direct now, and then the star could probably come in and be like, no, you're going to do this because it's the way I want to do it, and I'm the name here. So screw you.
Plus, it's
buddy.
not just that The Rock is the name. I don't know, I still call him The Rock as a wrestling fan. It's that to him, this is his baby. So he's like, no, you do what I'm going to tell you to do.
Yeah. I love it too. It's like so many. You can see the motivations behind a lot of things. Like, because the reason, like, he bent over backwards to get Henry Cavill to do that cameo. Like,
Yeah.
and the reason he did it was because he got booed at San Diego Comic-Con. And within the space of like 2 months, he tried to rectify things with the fans because he made a crack at like, I think in the July when, the movie is getting ready to come out, in a couple months time or whatever. And he said something like, someone was like, oh, who would win in the fight, Black Adam or Superman? And The Rock was like, well, pound for pound, that would be pretty tough. But, like, I guess it depends on who's playing Superman, right? And the crowd started booing him because the crowd were all Snyder fans.
But
and
don't
were like,
they get that again, that's wrestling. Like, you're supposed to have little jabs at people.
yeah. But then it's because you see, like, Henry Cavill's management is Danny Garcia. Like, that's her company. You ever see Danny Garcia? She's The Rock's ex-wife. And she looks like she's nearly as built as him. She's like a really muscle-bound lady. He's like, oh man, Danny Garcia is pretty intense. And she's Henry Cavill's management, basically. She owns production companies with The Rock. And so The Rock gets booed. The Rock don't like getting booed. And by September, the news that came out that Henry Cavill had filmed the cameo in the movie.
I mean, we knew he was gonna. We knew the sheer the sheer weight that The Rock was going to put behind this movie. Because remember, this is famously. Remember when he tore his own gate off his own house? He was shooting Black Adam.
Yeah.
And he had to get to set. And he literally ripped his own gate, which had broken, off the hinges. This is during COVID.
Yeah.
And
I've
broke
just
it
gotta
off.
film it.
Yeah, he's gotta film it.
Like running down the road to the set and stuff.
The hierarchy of the DC universe has to change.
So, Dwayne, you're not shooting today. All right, I'll go home again.
He goes home, he's like, oh, now I've got to fix the gate.
He seems the type, though. He can just like put it back up and then like bend the metal back into shape. He's like, there you go.
Just his
Done.
bare hands. Well, that's something else I really like in this. Like, it's the way, it's both something you, I think, like and dislike at the same time, Niall. It's the way he basically just acts like a Terminator. I really especially loved that scene where he just decides he's going to go into a different room. So he walks through the wall.
Yeah.
And then he just keeps walking through the furniture. It's like getting pushed around.
Yeah, he's got kind of that juggernaut kind of thing. Like anything he walks through.
Yeah. But again, in terms of them, it's like the amount of little things that they're swiping from other movies. So his relationship with that kid, Terminator 2.
Yeah. There's a lot of T2 in this.
Him watching the old Western, Back to the Future 2 and 3.
Yeah. Although I have to say though, I was happy because that's from the climax of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That scene, that's like one of my all-time favorite movies. So I was like, I like this. Like,
sure, let's show scenes of other great movies in this movie, and I'll love it.
It's like I just put a bit of Morricone in the soundtrack. It's like, you just made the movie 10 times better.
They did not let that simmer. I feel like he saw that, and not 5 minutes later, he's in a shootout. I was like, oh, you're doing it now? Because when I saw it, I'm like, oh, they're gonna do that later.
It should have been like, in the climax, they have a little bit of music come in or something.
I feel like this is the Frankenstein part of it. I feel like that scene in that first scene where he's running, he basically just blurs like you can't even see him, and he beats up all those guys. Was added later. Like someone's like, we need another fight scene. It felt very tacked on.
But even the backhand the compliment I'll give is one of the best shots in it. What I just thought, like, it actually made me go like, "Ooh, fuck, that was cool." Is that there's a bit where he first emerges when Adriana, who's ISIS in the comics, but they never go anywhere with that because I guess like maybe in a sequel, who knows? But or MILF Tomb Raider, as you would call it in this, you see her as like it's automatically like that's Lara Croft.
MILF Raider.
She lets she unleashes him, and then there's a great shot of him going up, floating up with the hood still on through the roof into the smoke, and you just see all like the flares from the guns shooting him, and you just hear this like ah, and I was like, oh, that's actually like a really cool shot, and it actually makes him seem really, really threatening. But then on the other hand, the fight that occurs afterwards, the painted black thing.
Oh, that annoyed me putting painted black in. It's so overdone.
Because they build up the riff, and then they cut to later in the song, so you're waiting for the thing to kick in. It's like, oh god damn it, you give me like painted blue balls. What you gave me. But that whole sequence then is just like, oh, this is Quicksilver from X-Men. You've just done that. Like later, even again, him breaking through the wall and stuff. Good scene, it's funny and stuff. But the way like Pierce Brosnan says to him, like, oh, I guess they didn't have doors back in your day. And he's like, of course they did. We used them to enter rooms. It's like, that's Drax. Yeah. That's a pure Drax line. You're basically making this character. Oh, it's like Arnie and T2 and Drax is one character. And he's also magic, I guess. There's so many little things like that. I counted a bunch of, like, one point he electrocutes a guy into a skeleton. And I was like, oh, it's a Joker move.
Yeah, yeah.
And then later on, he shoves a grenade in a guy's mouth. And it's like, that's from The Dark Knight.
See, that's why you're talking about, you say, like, at the end of the movie, he's a hero. He stuck a grenade in a man's mouth.
Oh, yeah. He goes around killing fools in this.
Yeah. Another thing that drove me nuts, quintessential kid sidekick with skateboard. I rolled my eyes at the skateboard kid. And at the end, especially when he's wearing the little cape. It was so bad. It's
just
bad.
John Connor again. It's like, make him. How do we show that he's a bit rebellious?
I feel
he's
like
got a skateboard.
This is a studio note from back in the 90s. Like, oh, it's going to be aimed at kids, so you need to have a kid character. And it's like, no, you don't. Not anymore. You don't need a gateway character for the kids to be like, I'm like this guy.
While I agree with you 100%, I liked the kid in this. I didn't find him annoying. I liked the kid too.
I find that what they did with him was annoying. The kid actor was not annoying. Like he's not like, whereas in T2, God, he's the most annoying person ever invented.
Oh, that's so funny watching it now. Because as a kid, I think I talked about this when we did our commentary track now. As a kid, I wanted to be John Connor. I'm like, oh, he's so cool. And then you rewatch it now, I'm like in my mid to late 30s. And I'm just like, oh my God, I want to smack this child.
Actually, I should speak on the behalf of Edward Furlong and say to Jonathan, are you calling moi a dipshit?
Yes.
I feel that was like why Tim Miller killed him in the first couple of minutes of Dark Fate. He's like, I've been waiting for 30 damn years to kill that kid. And that's the only reason I took the job, was just to do that scene. I don't care if it failed. It's just, what the hell, I'm out.
Well worth it. But I was that annoying kid who would quote his lines at people. And it's like, looking back now, I thought, oh no, what was I doing?
No, I have to say, I actually thought everybody in it was really, like, The Rock as in that role. He is, The Rock's he's a good comedy actor. He's a good action guy.
Yeah.
He can do the smolder, He's threatening without being all that threatening because he's got the heel experience.
Well,
so
and
he
he's
knows
good
how
at
to
the
be
deadpan Drax kind of thing, as you say. Like, there's one line I wrote down because I really liked it. It's where he's like, I don't know this place. And they say, this is your home. And he just instantly goes, then my home is gone. I was like, oh, that's cool.
I have no home. Hunted, despised. Also, too, as much as I can tell is really stuck in your craw, Jonathan, of Dr. Fate, and even though they made him basically knock off Doctor Strange, Pierce Brosnan is such a captivating presence to me that I was like, I actually, in his little bit of screen time, I would rather watch him be Doctor Strange in Marvel over Benedict Cumberbatch now.
Yeah.
I just
I like him in it. I think that he had a little too much say in what he got to wear because he's very much into, I'm going to dress like a Alan Quartermain, early 1900s big game hunter is his real life, how he dresses. And in this movie, he's dressed like that the entire movie. Yeah, and he's barely Fate. And he's always carrying that damn thing under his arm. And I'm like, oh, come on, movie. Put him in the freaking suit if you're going to. At least have him in the suit. You can take the helmet off. I'm fine with that.
I don't know, he probably said, like, I'll be in your movie, but I'm not going into wardrobe for hours. No.
The fourth billing in the film was actually Pierce Brosnan's robe. I was looking, I was like, so comfortable looking.
I have a bunch of clothes left over from the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I hope you don't mind. I wasn't in it. I just bought all the clothes afterwards.
It's like what we always said about, the Ghostbusters. What year did that come out? The all-female one. I was going to call it Ghostbusters 2016. We always said that about Bill Murray, didn't we? It's like when he turns up in that bizarre outfit. It's like, that's just Bill Murray. Like he's not gone to wardrobe. He's just turned up in that.
I can tell there's probably a situation on set where they're like, Bill, can you take off the hat? And he's like, no. And they're like, okay, we don't want to lose Bill Murray.
That's why I'm worried about Ant-Man. Travis, if you're listening, Travis Bowe, if you're listening, he doesn't watch trailers. Turn it off now. Skip ahead 15 seconds. Bill Murray's in it, and he's just dressed weirdly. I'm like, that's just Bill Murray. He's just dressed like that. He probably had those clothes.
You're talking about Brosnan's costume, Jonathan. Pierce Brosnan came out and said like he felt he was really in the running for Batman '89, and he thinks that he balls it up because he said to Tim Burton like during an audition, like, I just don't understand a guy who would wear his underwear on the outside. I mean, what's the deal with that? And Tim Burton was just kind of like, mm-hmm.
Oh.
And he just feels like that was me. I was done as soon as I said that to him. Well, to be fair, they did work together years later for Mars Attacks, so I guess it's okay. But it's like, apparently Pierce Brosnan, I don't know if he's changed his mind about that now, because he's like, well, I'm not wearing the underwear on the outside.
That's the thing.
Some CGI character. I'll be in my robe. Thank you very much.
Oh, he would be such a good, especially Bruce Wayne at any age of his career. You know, a young Pierce Brosnan, great Bruce Wayne. Pierce Brosnan now, great Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. Oh, him as Batman back. We hadn't got Keaton. He would have been. Yeah, I can imagine it would have been just as successful had it been Pierce Brosnan back then. But
let's do an older Batman movie with Pierce in there. Oh.
Although I get the real vibe in this movie that he was like, I'll be in it. But if my character dies at the end, that's totally fine.
No, you're already getting your older Batman. He's gonna be there. He's going to be in the Flash movie, and you all have to just deal with it.
If that ever does come out, I mean, they're still insisting on it.
It's not coming out. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't blame them for scrapping it and just
I've
coming
been
up with
saying
something
it's
else.
not real for 3 years now, and I'm exhausted.
Well, to be fair, we're not really any closer to knowing much about it from 3 years ago.
That's because it's not real.
Yes.
It's going to get to July, and then they'll be like, so where's this Flash movie? What Flash movie? It's like, oh, we never said there was a Flash movie coming.
No, you're reading into things.
We'll have it's like the Batgirl TV show. We're just going to have little screen grabs of behind the scenes pictures and be like, well, that's the movie.
There's a lot of toys of like, this is Michael Keaton's back. Look at the toys. Like, yeah, that could be any Batman '89 toy though.
Yeah,
like,
you're reading into it. You think it looks like Keaton.
But back to Black Adam.
Yes. Now there's one T2 thing that I was a bit sort of like. I liked it in the movie, but it was like 100% just ripping off Terminator 2. It was it's when he kills someone and then does a quip, but the kid has to say to him, "No, catchphrase is then kill."
Yeah,
and it's like the Terminator when he's trying to teach him to be human, and he gives him the hasta la vista and all that. It just really made me think of that. And I was like,
it doesn't have the satisfaction of like, because at the end when he finally does like tell them the Man in Black sent you, it's like there it is, it's finally paid. Like you kind of roll your eyes like it's paid off finally.
Yeah.
Whereas like Arnie saying hasta la vista baby and then shooting the T-1000 when he's frozen, it's like, oh my god, that was amazing. So it doesn't have quite the same. Although I will say I really loved the scene where he's flying through the air holding the guy.
Oh yeah.
And he drops him and he's like, tell the Man in Black sent you. I thought that was a genuinely really funny joke.
Because he's actually perturbed. He's like, well, he didn't hear that, damn it.
All of those bits where he's killing people, like I know it didn't go too far into making him villainous. It made him a complicated character. It's all about his son. You're like, okay, that's cool. But him just straight up killing people was great because you don't. I was gonna say you don't get a lot of that, but I suppose in the Snyderverse you get a lot more of it. But even with seeing it a million times in like Batman v Superman, it still felt kind of like superheroes killing people.
Look, one of my other favorite moments though was him. He's interrogating the guy and he just like throws him behind him, like a mile away. And then Hawkman lands and he's like, "Where's the witness?" And he's just like, "He didn't make it." And you just see the guy like collapse it, like landing about a mile away. Like,
he could have used this opportunity to steal a line from Arnold Schwarzenegger. He could have dropped the guy and he'd be like, "I had to let him go."
Yeah. Oh, then maybe he's like, no, Arnie will sue. You can steal the Arnie style, but you can't take the direct lines from him. Like, he won't stand for that. But
now, is there a bit? I don't know why this has just come to mind because it's not to do with that at all. But I think because I've got the movie on in the background here. Am I remembering this right? I haven't written it down. Atom Smasher grows huge. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was like, oh, that's good.
I think because we have the atom grow small. And Atom Smasher gets big.
Well, Atom Smasher is he is two superheroes from the JSA. He is the nephew or great nephew of the Atom. Atom had no superpowers. This is before the small Atom. He was just called the Atom. And he was part of the JSA, and he was a dude that could just fight.
Cool.
And then he got attacked by a guy who was called like Cyclotron or something that had like powers of fusion. It doesn't matter. It's vague. The power of radiation type stuff. He basically starts glowing. He's fine, but his kids have this power, like kind of like a nuclear power. And so when he's in the Infinity Corps, which is not Infinity Corps, Infinity Inc. The original this character's kid, they've obviously redone it for this movie. He's never been this other character. He was a character called Nucleon, and he had like nuclear powers.
Great name.
Great name. He had a mohawk, red mohawk. It's very 80s. Infinity Incorporated. Go look it up. It is so 80s it hurts. It's Silver Scarab, who is the son of Dr. Fate, Kent Nelson's kid. They're all just the kids of JSA kids. Like Wildcat's like niece. Become they all have some sort of 1-for-1 transition, and he becomes Nucleon. Nucleon kind of sucks, and so they just made him he was able to change his mass. So he can become incredibly huge, and when he becomes incredibly huge, obviously he's incredibly strong too. Yeah. And that's when he started wearing the costume of the Atom to memorialize his, I think at the time he might have died, his dead uncle, who was the original Atom. So he became Atom Smasher. Because his powers are, I mean, in this, he just grows. That's all he can do. Yeah. In the other one, he has basically these like fission powers or whatever, fusion powers. I don't know.
Okay, that'd be even better, to be honest. But that was actually great to hear because, again, I know of the character, haven't really read anything with them in, so I was like, oh, okay.
Now I'm going to look up what his actual powers are.
But is there a bit in this that am I misremembering this? There's a joke. I'm sure there was a joke about him basically growing his penis.
Probably. I don't know if I took note of that, but it would not surprise me if that was the case.
I hope I'm not misremembering this. I'm 90% sure that there's a gag about it. And I was just like, what?
I was just thinking, though, I'd absolutely love, because like Henry Winkler's there on the phone. He's giving him the costume. He's Uncle Al, which I think is an allusion to the original Atom Smasher.
Yeah.
And I would love if they had done a flashback where they de-age Henry Winkler. We just had Fonz era Henry Winkler swinging around with the JSA, young Pierce Brosnan and stuff. They just throw in like, oh, we got the rights to something. Paul Newman's in there too. Why not? Just throw in all the crazy crap. Let's just go for it.
I'm sorry. It says he is the godson of Al Pratt, who was the original Atom, and the actual grandson of Cyclotron. Whatever.
I have to say though, extra props though to Henry Winkler just for like.
Oh, it's great.
I thought it was lazy when like you watch Money Plane, the Kelsey Grammer weird action movie.
Wait, is
where
that
it's
with
just
like The WWE?
Yeah, the Edge is and it has a ridiculous line of like, you want to see a dude fucking an alligator? Money Plane. Like Kelsey Grammer delivers that line, but all of Kelsey Grammer's scenes are filmed in the same little house.
He did them in an afternoon.
That's clearly his house. But like, at least he let people in to film there. Henry Winkler's like, excuse me a minute, I have to go film something in the garden. Just got on his phone. It's like, yep, see ya. Yep, make check payable too. Yeah.
He's having a barbecue with all the neighbors around. He's like, I'll just be 20 minutes.
Didn't even have to tell the kids to quiet down. I was like, no, just let him run around his feet, whatever. It doesn't matter.
I have no qualms with actually anything of Hawkman, other than he's Bruce Wayne. I don't mind, because in my mind, again, they didn't go through it. If you've lived forever, you're going to have amassed an insane fortune. Not live forever. He gets reincarnated.
That's kind of the same thing.
Well, yes, no, but he has to grow up.
Yeah.
Every time. But he could like leave his money.
Yeah.
And then get that money. So that would be like how you would have all this stuff, because you've been around since 5,000. And again, he was around when. Well, it's more the Egyptian time, so you're thinking more like 3,000, 2,500. Anyway, the point is, he's been around since Egyptian times. Dr. Fate, in this, they haven't. The helmet's from another freaking galaxy. Oh, don't get me started on that. That's not what it is. There were throwaway lines in this that made me angry by the way they represented characters. I'm not mad about most of the Hawkman stuff. They just don't bring up that he's reincarnated.
I think there's so much you could do. That in itself is a movie.
Yeah.
Like, just this guy, but it's just more, we just need a
Him and
recognizable
Dr. Fate
outfit.
knowing each other for maybe 100 years. Because it seems
Well,
like
yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Fate is older, because he says he's older.
You kind of get the vibe, it's like, oh yeah, like, we've worked together for the last 10 years. That's the kind of vibe you get from those. Like, no, these guys are supposed to have been, like, it's multiple lifetimes.
Yeah, like
These guys
Dr.
go
Fate
back.
has known him, or Naboo has known Carter Hall, or whatever, Katar Hall, or whatever it is. There's a lot of... Hawkman has its own problems in that Carter Hall is the white, 1940s, 50s version of the comic book they made. A guy named Carter Hall. It became Hawkman. And then later on, they made it. His name was Katar, Katarhol, and he's from a planet called Thanagar. He's like an actual, like they're like Hawk people from Flash Gordon. Basically, they're just a bunch of people who all wear nth metal.
Would have been amazing if he phoned his uncle and it was Brian Blessed doing a Zoom call.
How amazing would that be?
Missed opportunity. Rock, you messed it up, man.
Well, see, it's the age-old complaint, and it's at play here. Is DC they try and rush things. Marvel was sensible, and they went, right, let's really plot all of this out. We're going to build, slow. And then DC were just like, no, just get the characters in, explain them.
Yeah, we need to keep up with these people, so we have to have it done now.
And you
Also,
don't.
DC did their main characters. They did their marquee characters, whereas Marvel's like, let's start with, like, I don't know, Iron Man?
Yeah. And he wasn't as big a character as he is now.
No.
No.
Oh, yeah, they basically sort of rebranded the character to be more like Robert Downey Jr. Because people know that movie now. So
when you read those comics, it's always they shape the comic that come out afterwards. All the stuff where Reed Richards and Tony Stark and Black Adam and all the guys that are like in the Illuminati. That all came about because the movies started to pick up too. Like it was becoming more like Professor X, all this stuff. They've kind of cherry picked the greatest characters.
Yeah.
Although I also have to say something from Iron Man that I felt they're kind of like, well, we're just appropriating that as well. As that in the comics and in the old Superman cartoon and stuff, Intergang were like a mafia family who were like, they were given super sort of tech by Apocalypse in order to fight Superman.
Yeah.
And then in Iron Man, they made the Ten Rings some sort of vaguely Middle Eastern terrorist organization. And then, when they got to Shang-Chi, they kind of, they made it more into what the Ten Rings actually is. This was like, so Intergang, they can just be, a random Middle Eastern terrorist group who are occupying this, this town or whatever. And then it was a bit like, I got excited when you said Intergang because I was like, holy crap, from the comics, right? And then you're just like, but this isn't Intergang. Like, this is a completely different, you could have called them anything, really. And then as soon as that guy showed up, who was like helping out Adriana in the tomb, they just signposted so clearly that he's going to be the bad guy.
Oh, sure.
And then the weirder thing is, though, because he was Jafar in the live action Aladdin remake. Yeah. And then at the end of that, he turns into a big red CGI monster. And at the end of this, he turns into a big red CGI monster.
That CGI monster is so bad.
Oh, that's the thing, right? I might defend a lot of this and say I enjoyed it, but the villain turning into a monster and the subsequent fight, awful.
It's turning into some sort of weird hentai porn sex monster.
I didn't need any of that. If I want to watch hentai porn, I'll go and do that.
Yeah.
I will give them props though for because he had that's the thing though. At the end, they rip off the thing from Ragnarok of you can't defeat me. I know, but he can. And then this is like, you're not a hero. I know, but he is. And then Hawkman shows up and starts smacking down. The actual killing blow where he literally tears him in two. I was like, holy Christ.
Yeah, that was cool.
Fair play. That was like some out of Terrifier or something. I was like, Jesus.
It's quite a violent movie in some ways, which I like, but I could imagine some people thinking that the tone's a bit all over the place.
Yeah. Imagine I took my 14-year-old to this, and he's like, oh, okay, well. Well, I mean, and he doesn't shy away from that kind of violence. We've watched violent movies, but I don't think he knew what this was, and the movie didn't help.
Yeah.
At the end of it, he's like, he goes, it was fine. Like, he goes, it was entertaining because he likes The Rock. So it's like, it's entertaining. And I'm just over there going, I can't believe they messed up Dr. Fate.
God damn it.
But it's doing that thing as well, though. It's like, well, we need a big CGI fight at the end. Because this thing, they pointed it out in friggin' She-Hulk, finally. They went like, we keep careering towards these friggin' the same finale every time. It was the big problem. It was the only problem a lot of people had with the first Wonder Woman. It was like, it was great up until friggin' David Thewlis turned into a big CGI monster.
I let it slide on that because the idea of David Thewlis becoming a physical threat was amazing.
It's like he was more threatening in that season of Fargo, though, just because he was so creepy the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's like, cause I could smell his breath through the screen. It's like I didn't feel him as a CGI monster, but I could smell that halitosis breath he had in friggin' Fargo.
Oh, and it was because wasn't he like forcing himself to puke all the time?
Yeah. Oh, no, it wasn't halitosis. It was bulimia. He was bulimic. That was his
but that gives you halitosis.
Yeah, well, he's double the threat now, I guess. Should also, I feel now I'm just going through a big list of things that like, this movie's kind of ripping off. But I said this to you too, John. I had to send you the link, and this will mean nothing to you, Jonathan, unfortunately. But if any UK listeners out there, there's the music in it's actually pretty good. The score is like really solid.
Oh, I love the music. That's one of my highlights. Yeah.
But I got really distracted because there's like a recurring motif of like. And I was like, every time I was like, that's the theme tune to Men Behaving Badly. Like, Men Behaving Badly was like a lads TV show from the mid-90s.
Yeah, it's all about drinking beer and sex with your bird.
Yeah, it was kind of like one of some of those things like in when people could have misunderstood the satire of Married with Children, where you're like, well, you're not supposed to go out and buy a No Ma'am T-shirt and admire what Al Bundy's sexist attitude or something like that. But people kind of ended up doing that.
It's the same with that show actually, with Men Behaving Badly, because the clever ones are the partners. They're the ones making the wise decisions, keeping things going, whereas they're just getting drunk and talking nonsense.
Yeah, it was kind of like supposed to be a satire of lad culture in the 90s, and then people kind of took it to be like this is an appraisal of it, and people started wanting to be more like the guys in Men Behaving Badly.
I only know the Rob Schneider American version, of course.
God, I forgot about
They did
that.
on for a season.
Holy moly. I was weird. Only this morning too that I found out that apparently there was an English remake of the Golden Girls called Brighton Bells.
What?
I was like, how the hell have I never heard of this before? But apparently so.
We're covering
it happened.
it. We're doing episodes on it now.
Oh, but yeah, the theme tune to Men Behaving Badly is this very, very iconic sort of saxophone theme at the end, like and I was like, that's the same. Looked up the composer, and he's a Scottish guy who's like in his late 40s, and it's like that man definitely heard that theme back in the 90s.
He knew what he was doing.
He knows that he took it from Men Behaving Badly, and now I'm sitting there thinking I'm crazy, going like, you can't just put the Men Behaving Badly theme tune in the middle of Black
Why
Adam.
not reinterpret it? Give it a different edge.
Yeah.
And it works. It's a good tune in this.
I am impressed. I just looked it up. I am impressed you guys actually got 6 seasons out in 6 years. Nice job.
I know, it's astonishing, right?
It might actually be like one of the most consistently airing British shows ever, because Britain has the thing of like one every 10 years or something, or we have one out every day for 50 years straight.
Yeah, Coronation Street.
Or those game shows you guys have had on forever, and I go and I watch them, and I'm like, you've been on for what? Since 1972? Wow.
Yep.
You got guys in soap opera. Like that guy played William Roach. Like his son played Bruce Wayne's dad in Batman Begins, Linus Roach.
Yeah, Linus Roach is great.
Yeah, but then Ken Barlow, he's just like, I played Ken Barlow every week since 1966.
Yeah, he's a Guinness World Record holder. The longest running TV character.
It gets to a point, it's like, is there a difference between you? Are you just showing up and saying lines just as you now? Like, where does Ken Barlow end and William Roach begin? We can't tell anymore.
How can you imagine having a job that long where you have to act like someone else? I mean, we all have that job, and then we all act like someone else because we're not our true selves. But my point is,
wear two faces.
I wear two faces. My face off. But
now I want to waterfall your face.
Speaking
caress.
of the way people act, can we talk about The Rock and the fact that he's not acting like another person?
He's just being what he always is.
I'd like to ask, as a person who likes The Rock, he can't be anybody but The Rock, correct?
No, he absolutely can't be. No, and sometimes I don't hate that though. Like, Arnold
Sometimes
Schwarzenegger
I don't hate
did it.
that.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger pulled it off, and everyone's always said, "Oh, he's trying to be the new Arnie," and I never really agreed with it up until I started thinking in those kind of terms. It's like, yeah, he's not. You don't cast The Rock to play a character. You cast him to be The Rock.
Yeah,
and that's what he's doing.
I think that's probably why him and Jeff Johns were like, we need to make a Black Adam movie rather than have me be the bad guy of a Shazam movie, because if the bad guy, I would have to be like properly villainous, and I couldn't just be The Rock in it, so I'd have to be playing a part and stuff. Whereas in this one, it's just like they keep doing that thing of they did with the first Suicide Squad movie, where they keep trying to emphasize, oh, we're bad, we're the bad guys, right? And then, but we're saving the day, isn't it weird? And this one's just like, it keeps saying like, oh, he's a bad dude though. He's like, oh, that's Black Adam. And then at the end, it's just like, he seems like he's, the fact that they do the big shot of him sitting, friggin', end of Conan the Barbarian style in the throne.
Yeah. I mean, that's the cover of a comic book. It's the quintessential Black Adam picture.
Yeah, but they make a point then of him smashing it, and it's kind of like, oh, he's pro-democracy. It's like, wasn't he the leader of the city and stuff? Like,
I don't think was he ever the leader. I thought
I thought he had kind of like a Doctor Doom thing going on.
He's
like,
savior.
I thought he took over as being like, I'm back, and now this is
he's not Black Adam, but for like 10 minutes because his son saves him, and then his son is killed by the craziest, most hilarious, hey, I'm peeking through your roof window arrow. Gets shot in the chest, which is hilarious, and then he kills Acton, and then he's taken by the wizards.
I was really surprised by the son sort of twists. I genuinely
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's the thing. I think that is one of the few like original things to the movie where it's like, it's not the Black Adam you thought it was.
But at the beginning, I was like, why are they not showing his father? Oh, that's Black Adam. Damn it, there's gonna be a twist.
I had all these notes too about like how the dad at the beginning was basically he had Jonathan Kent syndrome from Man of Steel, where he's like, don't be a hero, so just don't bother trying to help anybody.
No, he's an asshole. He's an asshole. Is that what you're saying?
yeah. That's kind of like, they should have an Elseworlds movie of Kevin Costner playing old man Superman now or something. Now we know the twist of Black Adam. But yeah, I thought that was another weird thing, because it also reminded me of the first Captain America, where the CGI hasn't dated that well now, but back in the day, dweeby thin Chris Evans, been bulked up into Cap, was like amazing at the time, and it's so distracting in this when it's like the Rock's current head. CGI'd onto a scrawny body.
It's like the Rock's body in 1997.
I thought it looked like they put his head on a stick figure to me. It was so weird.
It's because, it does. And because we're so used to his massive physique now. Because even when at the height of his wrestling, he wasn't this big.
No. Like when he first was in like Star Trek Voyager. Yeah. He's not cut. He's fit.
Yeah,
but I mean, you would even say he would probably call it. I mean, he had water weight. But the difference in the male physique that has changed over the past 20 years is, they don't drink. Their fluid is different. They're dehydrated basically to the point where they're cut. I mean, you can see his veins.
Yeah, and that's not like, this is the thing people don't always understand. He's not like that all the time. You get in that shape to look good on camera, supposedly.
Well, it's not my thing, but
it's a bit too much. It works for a superhero, obviously, but The Rock was never that big as a wrestler, but we're so used to seeing it now because Fast and Furious and stuff. That then
look at the first Fast and Furious he's in versus the last one he's in. It's a difference. Like the first one, he's still very fit, but by the last one, it's like, holy.
He's a monster now, isn't he? And
he does have a kind of slight vibe. Like, his skull looks as about it's going to flex out of his head or something. Everything's so taut.
He flexes so much, just his skin rips off his body.
That's the thing, though, because he flexes too much, because now the legacy of this movie is going to be like The Rock flexing on social media of like, look at this thing I'm giving you, everybody. Isn't it great? Oh, Black Adam's going to be the biggest character. Like, oh, crap. And actually, because he was flexing so much it was like, dude, if you just didn't say anything, or if you just like,
It's-
because then when all the James Gunn stuff happened,
Yeah.
he like publicly. Like, he unfollowed Black Adam, he unfollowed Warner Brothers on social media and stuff, and then he had to come back with his tail between his legs, like, no, I'm very happy for James Gunn and all this. And I was like,
Yeah, he definitely was kind of a bitch for this, and I think he thought he was because he felt he's franchise Viagra.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna make DC make money.
He has this thing, too, where, like, it didn't work, so he's just, like, crumpled up Black Adam, thrown it behind him. He's like, this Christmas franchise I'm making. It's like, the first film's not even shot yet, but he's telling you, it's a Christmas franchise I'm doing
Red
for Netflix.
Squad or whatever it's called.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know, Rock, maybe make the movie first and see if
Hey,
it does okay.
Again, though, you've got to remember he's a wrestler, right? Wrestling comes from carnies. They're the biggest.
Nomads, you know.
No,
Small hands.
yes. They are the biggest self-promoters. Even when they know it's not going to work out, it doesn't matter. That's just what you do. You exaggerate everything, and sometimes that pays off. If it doesn't pay off, doesn't matter. I'll do it again.
For those of you on the fence about watching this movie, and maybe you're just listening to see if you want to watch it, it cost $260 million. It made $393 million. It's not good.
I love the way
These guys may like parts of it, but I like parts of it. It's not a strong movie at all.
It is a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
It'll be on. It'll be on
sure.
TV. Yeah, and your kids will be watching it, and they'll be playing, and you'll be kind of cleaning the house, and it's that kind of level of background.
Let's just
movie,
say
really.
if you have a way to watch it, it is perfectly fine. I paid for it, so I was more angry when I saw it.
I would have paid for it in retrospect. I have seen worse.
Sure. I've seen worse
superhero
Marvel.
movies.
I've seen worse DC movies. So
The worst Marvel movies, I think, are worse than this. This is it's in
I
the
agree.
middle. Yeah.
I agree. It's middling. It's fine. It's like it doesn't change the hierarchy of the DC universe. It moves nothing. It moves nothing forward, and unfortunately, it's dead in the water. And
Yeah.
if he hadn't burned every bridge, he might come back because the Shazam movie made money. First one, second one. I hope it makes money.
Yeah.
I still think he might come back. You know, it's movies. Are
I don't
similar
know about that. I feel like his ego wouldn't let him.
I don't know. I find movies are similar to wrestling in that respect. Like in wrestling, you can insult your old boss for 10 years.
Yeah.
People did that to Vince McMahon all the time. Spent years ripping him apart. But if there's money to be made, they shake hands and they make a deal.
So yeah. So 10 years from now, there's going to be this amazing DC renaissance where we're going to be talking about it like, holy crap! Can you believe? Remember when DC was terrible in the early 2015s, 2020s, and it's going to be some Crisis on Infinite Earths thing. And Superman's going to be laying there on the ground, and Batman's next to him, and they're bloodied, and they're about to be beaten by the Anti-Monitor. And out of nowhere, The Rock shows up as Black Adam, and everybody's going to be like, woo! In the theater? Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, but he can do his immortal line. You know, heroes don't kill people. Well, I do.
Yeah. It'd be like, tell them the Man in Black sent you. You remember that, right? Everyone remembers that, don't you?
That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything in this situation. That's nothing.
No, I can't. The thing is, yeah, it would take. No, I don't know. Because The Rock would have to be the star. I feel. I think that's his kind of.
Not in 10 years, because he'll be almost 50 or older.
maybe.
He'll start moving into that. Right now, he's the big guy. He has his tequila. He has his mezcal. He has his, he has his stuff. In 10 years, he's gonna be. I mean, what do you do when The Rock's old?
That's a very good question.
Arnie's barely weathering it as like post governor, even though Arnie's like
he's 50 now, so he'll be 60.
Yeah, jeez. Like as you brought up Arnie there, like I like quite a few of his newer movies, but I know a lot of people don't.
No, because they're not. I mean, now he talks too much. To be honest. The old movies are great because it's just him spouting off lines. I mean, even Predator, where he's the main guy, and it's a more new movie. He barely talks.
Yeah.
And what he says is fucking awesome. So
that's the thing. You've got to pick and choose what he's going to say because it's like you come out of that not really knowing anything about the character, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But that, I
that's
think, also is a problem with Arnold Schwarzenegger, is that he later in life couldn't get roles because he only played those. So Dwayne Johnson's smart enough to... They're both very smart guys. He and Schwarzenegger are smart guys.
Oh, yeah.
I just think Schwarzenegger, unfortunately, was like, the 80s kind of screwed me in this lumbering big guy roles in 90s. So I'm kind of screwed going forward. Also, I have a pronounced accent. You know, it's different. Whereas Dwayne The Rock Johnson is, you know, he's like, I'm never going to be that guy. I'm going to be the big guy in a few movies, but I want to talk and I'm going to be smart.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's interesting in this, though, the way you cast The Rock, who back in the day was known for charisma and, you know, the way he could talk, the way he could verbally rip people to shreds. You know, he was a jokester, a prankster. He'd insult people. And then you've got him in this where he's just deadpan. It's quite a strange move, isn't it? Right?
Did he even do the eyebrow once?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, that seemed like I felt like as soon as Black Adam is resurrected, he's gonna come out with that friggin' brow.
Put it in every movie. Who gives a damn?
It's a big thing in Jumanji when the kid first turns into him. He's doing the eyebrow already. It's like it has to be there.
I spent so many hours practicing that eyebrow in the mirror as a kid.
Oh, it's tough.
I can't move my eyebrows like that.
I can do it with my right one because I spent so long practicing, but the left I can't move at all. I don't know. I'm not facially paralyzed, but you know.
That's why The Rock works out so much. It's like I need to have the level of control of my facial muscles as well in order to keep doing the Rock eyebrow.
The people's eyebrow.
Yes.
I should mention though as well. Like it is kind of a weird. Although he's not a because they do fake you out in this. By at the beginning you're thinking, oh, it's gonna be little boy turns into big superhero like Shazam, et cetera, et cetera. That's the original Black Adam backstory. But it's actually then. Because it's like, oh, like in Jumanji, he was a kid who turned into The Rock. It's weird that he's done that twice now.
In the comic books, though, Teth Adam is not a kid. He's a, you know.
I think it's an archaeologist who killed Billy Batson's parents or something.
What? No. Well, maybe in some iteration, but no. He's always, I mean, at least in the new stuff, he's from Kahndaq and...
I think it was like a thing, like a guy discovers the Scarab is the guy who killed Billy Batson's parents, and then he becomes Black Adam or something. Like the Teth Adam goes into him, or something like Teth Adam was.
I got you.
When he had his powers revoked, he turned into like a skeleton, like friggin' Last Crusade style, because he'd been around for so long.
Because there's a lot of that in DC. Originally, Dr. Fate's parents were killed by gas in a tomb when they find the helmet, and then they take the god Naboo takes pity on Kent Nelson. He killed his freaking parents, and then he's like, "Oh, here's a helmet, and I'm going to teach you how to be Dr. Fate."
Okay, fine.
And then also Blue Beetle, the original Blue Beetle, found a magic scarab as an archaeologist and became the Blue Beetle, and he had superpowers, and then it became Ted Kord, who's the most famous Blue Beetle, who has no superpowers. So... For a while, DC's like, hey, Egyptian stuff, let's just have him die in a tomb. Okay.
Why not? Yeah, it works.
And then again,
Metamorpho. Metamorpho found he's actually, Metamorpho is the actual superhero who fights Acton. Acton and Metamorpho are actually the pair that fight in the comic books. Those guys were always fighting. Even back in, because Metamorpho, I completely forgot, Metamorpho is also from Egyptian times.
Well, you bringing up the background, but I've got to mention this before because I'm an idiot. Before we wrap up, the kid at the beginning, it turns out it's his son. Up until you found that out, it was distracting me so much. I was just like, there's no way that's the Rock as a kid. No, I'm not buying it. I was angry. I was like, no, this casting's terrible. And then you find out, I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, but great they had that guy from Young Rock. Was it? He's like, I'm doomed to forever.
We've all seen what the Rock looked like as a 12-year-old. He was a full-grown man with a mustache.
He looked like a man. Yeah. Have you seen
that picture
of him when he's like 14? Back in the day. Have you seen that picture of him when he's like 14 and he's got a full mustache?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a badass.
Yeah.
I will say though, that's because I was just so willing to believe, like, okay, I guess that kid, once he says Shazam, he can turn into the Rock. I'll buy that. But then it was also had that kind of thing, like, I guess it's true of Shazam anyway. But it's like it's a kind of like a Lion-O Thundercat scenario where he's like a little kid in the body of but then without the little kid's that evil and stuff. But whatever. But I will say though, in a good positive note for them, even though I guess Moon Knight kind of beat them to the punch, it was nice to see like a Middle Eastern superhero, just in general. Where like, well, it's
played by a Hawaiian.
That was the downfall of it, and there's also there is a little bit of a commentary in the fact that like Intergang has been occupying, but Intergang's been occupying this territory, and they keep saying like, why isn't anybody doing anything? Like, why they're Superman villains? Why is Superman?
I like that. There's like it's like no one's going to take care of us except ourselves. That's That's always been a great part of this story.
Yeah. So I thought that was a positive thing because you can apply that to actual countries in the world as well. Why aren't the big powers stepping in to do something here? It's like, well, it doesn't benefit them to disrupt the status quo, so we're not doing anything.
Something I looked up while this must have been either left on the cutting room floor for this Frankenstein of a movie, or they just didn't notice that they had to notice. Did you see that? I read this. I've seen the movie twice, but I read this. The necklace that Adriana's wearing, remember that one she's wearing that they're like, oh, that's Eternium. Yeah, it's been in my family. Black Adam's wife is wearing that in the flashback scenes.
Oh.
So that means she's his ultimate great-grandchild or whatever.
Oh, maybe that's why they don't hook up in it.
Oh, yeah, that's what
gonna get weird.
Actually, that's
things are gonna get strange.
That's something I really did appreciate about this, actually.
Oh, yeah, no hookup? Yeah.
No love story of any kind.
Well, she has a kid. Gross.
I think that was their thinking. Because when you first see her and what it turns out is her brother, I assumed, are they going to be a couple? Are they married or something?
John, you can't just put people together just because they're of the same relative race.
No, but
be like, that's definitely her husband.
Well, because the other guy in their group, who turns out is the villain, as soon as you see him, you're like, he's the villain.
Yeah.
I knew instantly. Yeah. So I'm like, well, she must be with that guy then. I loved that she wasn't, and she never found any. That sounds really dark. I love that she never found anyone. But it's not relevant.
I love that she dies alone.
It doesn't matter. I don't need that in this movie.
No. I mean, I don't need half the stuff the kid's doing. Like when he comes around that corner really slowly on that skateboard, and there's like maybe 15 people behind him, and they play this triumphant music, I go, really?
Yeah. I know all that stuff too. That really reeked of 90s kids movie of like, we need the kid to be doing a heroic thing, right?
That reeked of the first Suicide Squad and the fact they were fighting. At no point did they talk about those souls coming back.
Yeah.
And then there's just an army of skeletons, and you're like, okay. This is when they're just like, well, here's our CGI budget. We got to make sex Satan and these. He needs an army of it, because remember in the first Suicide Squad, it's just those amorphous. Their heads are covered by like whatever parasites, and they're just like blobby whatevers. That's exactly what they're just burny. These are just burning things, burning stick bin.
I think James Gunn's like, I'm taking a completely different direction for the Suicide Squad. Starfish on people's faces and also take over their bodies.
Adriana's brother, who has been shot in the stomach at this point, is still able to hit them with a stick and destroy them. Great army you got there, Sex Satan.
Yeah.
Real top notch.
I just kept thinking that guy's like he's the poor man's Brett Gelman. Every time
I did enjoy when he was hitting them. He's like, no, don't worry about it. I die by electrocution. I love that he knows his fate, because fate. Man, don't get me started.
You need to do a whole 6-hour-long breakdown.
Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate is like they've turned it into scanners where he touches somebody, or the what's the one with not scanners, the other one, the one, oh my god,
Videodrome.
No, the guy touches someone and he can tell your future. It's
the Dead Zone.
Yeah, the Dead Zone.
That's what they do in the new Wednesday show.
Yeah, that's what they've turned. Dr. Fate is dead zoning. He touches someone. He's like, you're gonna die by electrocution. Oh, thanks.
I do have to ask, did you guys at any point, did you believe that Hawkman was going?
Yes.
But did you believe that Hawkman was good? Because everything about that, they were being so vague about what happened. I was like, Hawkman's not going to die. It's going to be Dr. Fate that dies.
Oh, yeah. No,
I knew. Yeah, I knew.
Yeah.
The guy who always knows the fate. Because that's how they're like, haha, it's different than Marvel. Because our Dr. Fate lives in this movie. So your Dr. Fate's going to die.
I thought it was quite cool because, like, if you knew the future, like, you might tell people enough to keep them safe, but you're not going to tell them everything. It felt realistic to me.
Held up one finger. It would have been better if he just held up one finger to Hawkman.
Or if he just does two, just to be like, it just turns the hand around two to like, fuck you.
Or three fingers to be like, there could be three different fates.
No.
I was convinced also.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I was convinced too that like his helmet was gonna rematerialize in front of the kid at the end. Because it was like, well, they killed him off, but then I guess maybe they were also like, well, we might be able to negotiate something with Pierce. Maybe he'll come back. So,
well, he'll be in the helmet because that's where you go.
Oh, okay. Well,
canonically in the comic book, you live in a dream world in the helmet,
and they can find some stupid way where his body will come out of the helmet.
Yeah.
Although cast somebody else as a younger Dr. Fate. Here's okay again. Oh my god, Dr. Fate. You don't have the powers, Hawkman, by holding the helmet. He holds the helmet and does the trick.
Well, because that seems to make Dr. Fate seem almost irrelevant. Like,
right.
You just need the helmet.
Well, I mean, that is kind of... That they got right. Dr. Fate is no one without that helmet. That helmet is what... It whispers to you all the time and makes you crazy, but it's the thing that is powerful. When you take it off, you're just Kent Nelson and you're meh.
But in a cinematic sense, yeah, I would make it so that's the case, but it only speaks to certain people.
Right.
Yeah.
It kills you if you put it on and you're not worthy.
Yeah.
I thought it feels though like everything about him and the potential backstory you could mine and everything with Hawkman, and it's just like, just breeze past. And
he's like a Lord of Order, I believe. I believe Naboo is a Lord of Naboo.
Yeah.
spelled differently.
And also then too is just like, well, we need numbers. So again, Cyclone, Atom Smasher is like they're also here. Just in the, and it's like, oh, he looks a lot like Deadpool. Yeah. That's just the way it is, It doesn't matter. Maybe we'll do something with the sequel. Oh wait, no, we're not going to do anything with them in the sequel now, I guess.
I hope they do. I thought this was fun. Obviously, we've picked it apart, but I enjoyed watching it.
It is weird that The Rock's other Egyptian comeback movie, like The Scorpion King, actually had more sequels than will happen to Black Adam. Because I think they're still making Scorpion King movies. There's like,
yeah, I didn't even realize they made a second one because he didn't go back, so I was out.
I think one time I looked up like Billy Zane's IMDb and I just saw like Scorpion King 4. Like, what? And then you look up, it's like, yeah, it's just Billy Zane with a wig just going around. It's like, yep, I'm the bad guy in a Scorpion King movie because that's what I do now.
Why not? No, I do hope they revisit this though. I think the fighting was fun. The Rock was good in it. The smatterings of humor worked for me as well. So it's better than a lot of DC films.
Intrigued. I'm sure James Gunn has got like all his plans for season 2 of Peacemaker in the can. Like he's already got like, this is locked in. But maybe as an olive branch to The Rock. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, that's still the same universe because I can't imagine he's going to nuke his own creation from orbit as well. Maybe season 3 is like, maybe we bring in Black Adam. Then asking the
Black
Rock
Adam on the Suicide Squad would be amazing for only for a little bit. I mean, obviously you can't have him here the whole time. He's too overpowered. He ripped a demon in half.
Yeah.
Normally, an overpowered character annoys me. Like sometimes I get annoyed with Superman, but it worked for me in this. I just was like, yes, rip him in half.
Well, that's because he does the things that in our minds we would do if we had superpowers and somebody screwed with us. We would literally break them in half or throw them a mile in the air. Yeah. Superman never does anything like evil that we would do.
Well, Snyder's one does sometimes.
Yeah, it'd be weird though if you got back in
only collaterally. Only collaterally does he.
But you could have, like, in theory, in the future, maybe John Cena and The Rock as Peacemaker and Black Adam in the same.
Oh my God! Well, now you're getting John's. Now you're in their wheelhouse with.
Yeah. It was so weird though because. Like, I love that Peacemaker show so much. And it's just like they made him into such a genuinely deep, interesting character with his own levels of trauma and stuff. And then to have John Cena be playing a proper character. And then The Rock's just back as like, I am Teth Adam. I love that they did that as well. The thing you could see coming from a mile away where they keep calling him Teth Adam the entire time. And then they do the thing of like, well, Teth Adam's a little old fashioned. So what should we call you? And it's like they're gonna cut to the credits. They're gonna cut to the credits.
Oh, guys, did you enjoy speaking of other movies? Did you enjoy the part where Tony Stark's he phone calls Teth Adam in the cryo thing?
Oh yeah.
And Tony Starks him. He's inside the little head thing. And you're like, come on, movie.
Although, to be fair, they swiped that from Batman Forever when he goes through the little tube thing to get to the Batcave, and Alfred pops up. And Jon Favreau was in that movie, so you know where he got it from, damn it. But
there's one thing I did like about that. I liked that, Pierce... I always call people by their real name, don't I? What am I doing? Pierce Brosnan was contacting him like by projecting himself. Because he was actually like mid-fight. And I thought, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a bit different. It was a bit
he didn't need to be in that. He didn't need to be in that black site. I don't really understand why we needed that whole scene. Yeah. Well, obviously his wife's in it, but why did we need that scene of the like? I needed him. He could have been somewhere closer, I think, in my mind.
Yeah.
Instead, they like flew him to like the Arctic. Whatever.
Yeah.
It felt a bit pointless because then he's just back again. You're like, oh, okay.
That's also kind of a vibe of like, we can get in Amanda Waller for like a Zoom call, but then like, no, we can't. She won't show up to actually film a thing on set. So get in hardcore from Peacemaker. Like,
well, she won't do that. Like that. She won't do that for anything because she didn't do it in Peacemaker either.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. I was a bit gutted by in the scene where he gets put on ice, like in the big high tech prison.
Ice. Schwarzenegger.
Because I remember though they did that in. I felt like if it was a Marvel movie, someone they would have like. It feels like a modern movie thing would be like, well, you have to have allusions to other villains in there. So remember, even in that Turtles movie, the one Out of the Shadows, there's a bit where Shredder gets frozen by Krang and put in like a storage container, and beside him you see like Usagi Yojimbo and stuff for a second. You're like, oh my god! And it just felt a bit weird that they had this thing of like, here's a big super prison, and Black Adam's going in, and did not have like. Just somebody next to him to be like, there's another DC villain you guys all recognize, right? It's like, maybe it's someone associated with, I don't know, Apocalypse or something like that to allude to a much bigger threats out there and things. But like, no, just didn't. It just felt very Minority Report. Just like, put him in there for a second. And then we have to have a big, he's back, baby, moment at the end.
You've got to have that in your superhero movie.
Yeah. But yeah, so overall, like it's weird because I think the critical reaction to this was bad, but the fan reaction is, of course, 88% in Rotten Tomatoes and whatnot. They're standing behind it, and I
think it's mostly because they're not burdened with knowledge. Not that you're dumb. You're not burdened with the knowledge of the superhero. If I knew nothing about these characters, I'd be like, holy shit, this is totally new, refreshing. Never seen this before. Yeah, some of the stuff doesn't work, but it'd be fine. I'm burdened with that's not my Atom Smasher. Actually, he's pretty close to he and Hawkman and Cyclone. I love Cyclone's the way she kind of spins. That effect looked great.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I just like their outfits.
Yeah, her little breezy outfit, little green and blue outfit was awesome.
Yeah. I just got that frustrating thing of being like, because they did it with Birds of Prey, where like we've kind of reinvented these characters. So Montoya's like, she's kind of like Montoya from the comics, but not really. And then like Huntress was like a completely different kind of interpretation, but everybody loved like Mary Elizabeth Winstead's Huntress. So now like, I want to see more of that character like going forward. I don't care if she's not like the Huntress from the comics, but then they're like, no, that's all gone as well. Whereas this one's just, but like, do you want to see more of Atom Smasher? No. It's like, do you want to see more of Dr. Fate? Apparently, if you're a Dr. Fate fan, no, you would not. But yeah. I mean, I don't know any notes left. I think I'm noted out for Black Adam.
I think we've covered pretty much everything, without breaking down the entire plot second by second.
Yeah. Just trying to think if there's anything
else.
So
you guys, would you guys recommend it to someone who doesn't read comics but likes superhero movies?
I think I'd need a bit more info on them. I would recommend it to certain people.
I mean, a general. You want actual background dossier?
I'd say like if you're looking for like an early Saturday afternoon, I just need something to stick on. Yeah, it's fine.
A friend from work who says he likes superhero movies, but you've done a little light probing, and they don't know anything about comic books. They just kind of like superhero movies.
I think they would like this because I think they wouldn't be picking out some of the flaws that we are. Even if they're a movie fan, someone like that probably isn't going to be like, well, that's from T2, that's from such and such,
Yeah.
I think they would accept it at face value. The Rock, even though he's playing a deadpan character, he still somehow has charisma. It's oozing out of that. I don't know how. And the fighting's cool. The fighting looks like you're playing the video game Injustice.
I think I would get distracted. Like, I would assume I was getting so distracted by things like when they were talking about Eternium. And I was like, well, I know in the backstory of Eternium, it's like shards of the Rock of Ages and stuff. Like, it's, but in this, it's kind of like, well, remember Vibranium from Black Panther?
It's like that.
It's kind of like that. And also, we do this little triangle thing with our hands. That's like the symbol of the city. It's a bit like the W for Wakanda Forever. It's a bit like, oh my god, you guys are just swiping everything, aren't you? But if you didn't know anything about it, if you came in and you'd never seen a movie before, maybe I'd be like, yeah, you'd probably enjoy this.
I think a lot of people would like it. Yeah, again, I've seen a lot worse. I don't think it deserves the reputation of being a bomb, even though it made money in this day and age. If you don't make enough money, you're a bomb.
Yeah,
I don't think it deserves that at all.
I think it depends what you're wanting out of a movie, though, because in many ways it's a better movie than Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah,
but then Wonder Woman 84, but Wonder Woman has so many moments of like, what? This is crazy that you've done this. That I would actually kind of recommend people watch that more because you have to see what they did with it.
At no point in Black Adam does anyone take over someone else's body, then have sex with that body, and that body goes back to being normal.
That's the thing. I actually liked Wonder Woman 84 until I sat down and thought about that, and I was like, wait, that's wrong.
That's not good.
It's this guy like Pedro Pascal hamming it the hell up. It's just like, no, he was great in that. But then, like, who's the bad guy in this? Oh, it's Jafar from the. But then the major note I have about that Jafar in the live action Aladdin remake is that he was terrible in that movie because the original, the animated Jafar is amazing. Mm-hmm. That guy went in the remake with none of that energy. Yeah, and then he's just
like, I can't be that character because if I do it, I can't. Also, they were trying to be more again culturally sensitive.
Yeah,
Jafar in Aladdin is not played by a man of Middle Eastern descent, and it is a caricature of Arch. It's an Arch. It's this kind of thing where he's like, I'm going to be evil, but within the confines of human evil.
Yeah. And
it didn't work. It doesn't work. It's
just so less like I'm just watching this, thinking about the original one, how much better it was. But
the villain's not amazing in this, but everything, like, I do think there are moments where I did sort of go, whoa! It's when The Rock's killing people, basically. Anytime Adam is just like slaying fools, I'm like, yeah.
There's a setup for better. Like, it's kind of like as an origin story. It's like, yeah, it's fine. They could have made a good sequel out of it. Like, somehow, maybe. Like, DC's track record indicates they probably wouldn't have. But it's got legs. It's just more like a recommending of the last like 10 years of movies. It's like, well, it's better than. I'd watch it again over like Dawn of Justice.
I'd watch it again over most of the DC output. Obviously, not the Batman and things like that.
Yeah.
I watched it a second time with my older son, who came in and was like, how bad can it be? I go, all right. and so we watched it, and we were laughing a lot of the time. But at the end, he was like, yeah. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
But see, you were laughing. Whether it's at it or with it doesn't matter. You got something out of it.
I was definitely entertained. Yeah. Because it was just him going, it was just him, Leo DiCaprio pointing at the screen from, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's that GIF. It's just my son going, oh, that's from T2. Oh, that's from, So that's a proud dad moment. It's just, watching them. Here, watch Black Adam if you enjoy secondary references to other movies.
Yeah, it's got that level as well. There you go. Watch it, everyone.
And just like show someone an episode of Men Behaving Badly beforehand to see if it rings any bells as they're watching the movie. Like, that sounds really familiar in the background.
I suppose then we should, I was going to say head off into the dark night like I normally say, but this movie is set in the bright sunlight.
Actually, as I was watching it, I realized I think it's all set over one afternoon. Like, he gets I don't think it ever cuts to another day. It's literally one afternoon.
Imagine this whole thing in one day. Holy crap.
Yeah, this all
maybe
takes
a long
place between...
day because, remember, he does wake up in a bed, so I assume he slept.
Oh, that's true. Maybe that could be, maybe
it might
the
be
next
2
afternoon.
days.
But
Even so, that's wild. But we'll float away very slowly towards the bright, bright sunlight. And Jonathan, what would you like to promote today? What have you got coming up?
I got new stuff, guys.
Oh.
Yes, I do have Minute Impossible. We're on hiatus. We will come back someday, I swear to God. We also have Fast and the Furious. We're trying to, we actually slowed it down because we're just gonna finish soon, but there's gonna be a Fast 10 trailer maybe over the Super Bowl.
Yes.
So we're gonna ramping back up. And a new show. I'm glad you mentioned He-Man. We got a new show coming up with me, Rick Ingham from Mad Max, and Robin Burge from a million podcasts.
Oh, super team up this. Yeah.
Superman and Lois, Karate Kid, Cobra Kai, all that kind of stuff. Gossip Girl. We're doing a podcast called Sword Boys. Cut by cut, and it is sword movies. It is starting with the greatest sword movie, Highlander.
Yes.
We're not doing it minute by minute. We're doing it cut by cut. What that means is we are arbitrarily cutting it up
whenever you feel like it.
Well, we try to do it like by fight scene, but we also aren't going to break up a scene if there's a little bit of exposition afterwards. But we're starting with Highlander. We're going to do He-Man.
Hey,
we're gonna do. I'm blanking on all the sword movies out there. Beastmaster. It's kind of like a 80s and 90s thing at first, so we'll start with a lot of sword. We're probably not going to do Conan because that's been done minute by minute.
Yeah,
but we might do Conan the Destroyer.
Oh, I actually don't hate the movie.
Was super campy.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of camp involved in this. So Sword Boy, if you want to go see when our episodes actually start dropping, go to swordboys.biz. That's right. swordboys.biz.
The greatest website ever.
Or join our group on Facebook at it's facebook.com/swordboys.biz/group. Like everything we named is swordboys.biz. So if you want to email us, it's swordboys.biz@gmail.com. We didn't know you were allowed to put a dot into email addresses, but we were allowed to.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. I will have to also say too, as long-term listeners will know, I'm a massive Masters of the Universe fan. So if I could reserve a guest spot, specifically when Skeletor becomes a god, if you get to that movie, I would be forever grateful, because that is one of my favorite scenes in anything of all time.
Well, make sure you listen to that one, especially with Niall on whenever that comes out. And as usual, talk to us on Facebook at the Bat Minute Listeners Cave. We should probably change it to something Black Adam related and then get stuck with it for 30 days now.
It'd be terrible. Black Adam's prison hole have a name?
I bet it does. Let's look it up. We can come up with something.
It's now called the Black Adam Prison Hole.
That's it. That's going to be the group. And we're on Twitter at BatMinute, Instagram, The BatMinute. And what should I plug today? Why don't you go to our TeePublic? Look up our network, Sleepy Charlie Media, on TeePublic, and you can get t-shirts and mugs and all kinds of crap. Get a cushion. Get what else have they got these days? They had face masks, but they're old now. Nobody wants them.
When's your Black Adam shirt going to come out?
Niall, get on it. You've got your new drawing tablet. Get on a Black Adam shirt.
You should do a Black Adam shirt. Here's my thing. It's the Rock's face, and it's the David Bowie lightning bolt across the face, but it's the Black Adam lightning bolt.
Oh my God.
There you go.
I hate suggesting things because Niall is the artist, so he's got to draw them. If I come up with something, it's like giving you work. But here you go. That's perfect now. Do it.
I'll see if we can throw something together.
And we will be back soon with more episodes. And in fact, it won't be too long until we're back with a new season.
Yeah, I think we've got one other hiatus episode in the can, and then after that, like the wheels are spinning for Minute of the Phantasm.
Yeah, as you hear this behind the scenes, things are in motion. The episodes are beginning to take shape, listeners. Yeah. So keep your eyes peeled, keep your ears unblocked with wax. And listen out for more exciting Bat Minute action. We'll be back.